All right, moment of truth. Sonic the Hedgehog meets DC, the collaboration I didn't even think I knew I needed. So we saw this announced probably like a month or so ago, but they're finally here. These are my pre-orders and they just came in from Target. You're essentially looking at the complete Wave 1 series of figures. Now, all of these come in a single carded form, except for this pack. This is the only way you can get Darkseid, as well as this Shadow that has an exclusive light up feature to this set only. So we're gonna primarily focus on this. I'm gonna save Amy for a separate video. I'll put the links to all of these in the tagged products or the description below. Now this set costs $59, which is a pretty good deal because all of these single carded figures are $15 each. So that leaves Darkseid also costing $15, but you're getting a little extra value because this Shadow has that light up feature. I love the presentation to this. I love seeing this window right here with all the characters. Darkseid is a 7-inch figure and the rest of them are 5-inch figures. And I wouldn't be surprised if in Wave 2 we saw a light up Sonic and a light up Silver as well. Just in case, here's the barcode and the Target DPCI to help you find it in store. I'm gonna start this off with Silver as the Green Lantern, which is actually my second favorite DC hero. Now they went with the 5-inch figures on this instead of the 4, which I'm so glad that they did because they're able to squeeze in a lot more articulation. So think of the movie figures. If you collected any of that line, there is an immense amount of articulation to those figures. I mean, compared to the 4-inch ones, there's butterfly joints, there's hip articulation, extra joints at the arms, even the hands will open and close. And so that's essentially what we're looking at here with these figures. Now Silver, the coloration looks great. This is a brand new head sculpt for him. The eye details look great. I love that yellow look all throughout, and then that green accent through the outside and the inside of his eyes. Now that articulation, man, is so good. That butterfly joint is really nice. I mean, it's not a lot of movement, but it still helps you get a little extra range of motion. And then we have a swivel joint right below that, and then we have our traditional break at the elbow, and then you can swivel that around as well. And then what is so cool is being able to have the wrist joint going forward and backward, and then just that hand articulation. I mean, it kind of stays in a bent grip like this, but still, that is just such a nice little feature. And you can see how much more like character you get out of these figures when you're posing them with just that little extra articulation. And then I think where it counts the most is going to be at the legs and then just the feet, because I mean, you're seeing these characters running throughout the games, so that's important to be able to recreate poses that you see within the games. That way you can display them on shelf that way also. But all in all, this figure looks awesome. I love the ring there. I mean, such a cool little detail, and you know, it just makes it look that much more official, you know? In addition to all of that, he also has that head articulation. It's just basically a ball joint, so you can just spin it all the way around and then moving it forward and backwards, just depending on how much the spikes get in the way. But all in all, I mean, great choice as the Green Lantern with Silver, and I just love being able to hold that arm up like that, showcasing the ring. I mean, that's pretty cool. Next, I want to move into Darkseid. Now, this is like new territory for Jakks Pacific. I don't think they've really done any superhero type of figures to this degree. And like I said, I'm not the biggest DC collector, so I can't really compare this to like any of the other brands that make superhero figures, but just from an initial feel, this thing is a heavy figure. I mean, there's a lot of weight to this. Now, another thing that I'm noticing is that there's like no pins to these joints. Like you can't see the pins sticking out at all, which I really enjoy that because I feel like when you see a lot of those exposed pins in areas like that, it takes away from the overall aesthetic of the figure. So let's just start with the head. It looks like he's got some minimal articulation there. You can spin it around for the most part. Yeah, you can get a full 360 out of it, and then moving forwards and backwards. Nothing too over the top just because his thick neck muscles get in the way. And then here at the shoulders, this is like really the only area you can see any joints kind of sticking out, but he should be able to bring them up pretty high. It looks like we have just our traditional joints that you would expect there, kind of like a ball and socket, as well as some swivels. So it looks like the arms I can bring up about that high, and then I should be able to spin that around. And he also has butterfly joints, which is pretty rad. And then so just below that, it looks like there is another swivel, which is like at the upper part of the biceps. So you could take that joint and spin that around as well. And then at our traditional elbow, looks like we have maybe 2 joints there. Looks like I can bend this just right at the lower part of the bicep and then at the forearm as well. So you can basically flex that arm all the way through, like you're kind of doing like an Arnold Schwarzenegger pose, you know? So that's pretty sick. Let's see if there's any swivels here. So no swivels at these elbows. So you're gonna get that rotation just at that upper arm. And then at the wrists, traditional joints, forward and backwards, and I should be able to spin it around. So his right arm stays in a closed fist, so you can start punching some of these hedgehogs. So that's pretty cool so far. A good amount of articulation, considering that this is a $15 figure in the grand scheme of things. Now at this hip torso area, looks like we have two joints here. We have one just below his chest line. So kind of moving side to side. Looks like I can't go all the way around, which is okay. I wouldn't really do that anyways. And then forwards and backwards. Below that, we have like a hip joint there, which adds just a little extra articulation. Now his like hammock or like little kilt robe-ish area here is made out of like a softer type of plastic, so it'll move with the figure, which is pretty neat. But yeah, this is a dense, heavy figure. I mean, you're getting a good chunk of plastic on this guy. At his hips, right here where the leg starts, traditional things that you would see that makes a good articulated figure. So ball joint, being able to bring that leg out and around. Then we have a swivel just below that, so I could take that upper part of the thigh and that leg all the way around. Double joints, looks like at the knees right here, no pins exposed, which is great. And I can take that leg and completely flex it back on itself. Crazy good articulation. Those of you that really collect DC figures and have like a slew of them, let me know how this already kind of stacks up compared to the figures that you own, because I'm curious. Below his knee, we're gonna have another swivel, kind of like where his shin is. Take that part of the leg, spin that around as well. And we also have a hinge and a swivel at the foot. Pretty traditional, great looking stuff. And then there's also some little peg holes at the bottom, so if you decide to put him to a stand or something like that. Now, he is a 7-inch figure, and let's just prove that real quick. So I had to look up exactly how tall he is, and I guess he has a few different height variants between like the new 52 and the classic, but what I saw was like 8 feet 9 inches or so, just a little over 7 inches, so almost in scale for a 112 figure line. You know, I gotta leave Shadow as Batman for last, so next up is Sonic as the Flash, which is obviously the most appropriate new head sculpt to this. I love how the ears look. You know, they have that extra like lightning bolt to the side. Awesome looking feature there. We also have like some lightning painted throughout his spikes. Also very hefty. All of these figures have some good weight to them, which is nice from a quality standpoint, but can be a little combative as far as like being too top heavy and toppling over. There's so much extra articulation at these legs that, I mean, you'll be able to make it work no problem. So new sculpting, obviously, we have that butterfly joints at the arms. Great posability. I love just like the little sculpted areas throughout his entire like suit. Just like the lightning streaks all the way around. I mean, it really gives an authentic The Flash feel. So same thing as Silver, bringing the arms up and around, spinning them all different directions. Great flexion here at the biceps. You can basically break 90, which is very nice. We do have some swivel action there at the wrist, and then we can open and close that hand as well. The big thing, obviously, with this is just being able to get some more realistic posing. And this is just so cool. At the legs, we have a ball joint right there, and then we can spin the legs on around at that top part of the thigh. Good break there over at the knees, which is well over 90 degrees, which is great. So happy that they went with the 5-inch figures on this. And then down by his shoes, we have some little cutaway lines as well, kind of give that more lightning bolt appearance. But the coloration looks really nice. I mean, it is what the Flash looks like. I love the little like lightning bolt utility belt around his waist. Super rad. And then over at his ankles, we do have some joint action there. Looks like another hinge and swivel. So being able to just rotate this all different directions, forward and backwards. Not a crazy amount just because a sock gets in the way, but you can still get some good movement out of it. But just a really solid figure for sure. I mean, just the posability you can get out of this is just unreal. Shadow as Batman is just the coolest thing. If I find another one of these as a single carded figure in store and it's pretty minty, I'm gonna definitely pick that up because I gotta just display one in the packaging. I mean, that card back on Amy looks so cool. What an epic looking figure. I mean, just being able to have that light up feature at the chest is, they didn't need to do that, but it's just so cool. Now it does take little batteries, so they're on the back. You're able to interchange those out when they end up dying at some point, so that is pretty cool. But his head sculpt looks great. You can see that gray accent all throughout, which replaces his red coloration. His eyes look great, had that same type of printing on them. Now the cape that is attached is a single piece itself, so it doesn't stay in a static position. You can actually move that around with his head, which is very cool. Now, of course, he has the same articulation as the rest of the figures. However, because they have that light up mechanic at his chest, he doesn't have the butterfly joints. So if you get the single carded release, that one should have the butterfly joints, kind of like what they they did with the Sonic movie 3, but he still has great articulation. I mean, just below that shoulder, we have that swivel joint, so I can spin that arm around, and then great flexion over at the elbow. It looks like he can get 90 degrees. He can't go much more than that just because his little gauntlet glove gets in the way, which they do have spikes on it as well. So rad. And then wrist articulation, so same type of thing. So moving down from that upper arm, same articulation with the rest of these figures, and you can open and close that hand. And he even has like the little knuckle pads to his glove as well. Now at his hips, same type of joints. We also have those ball joints. The swivel is just right below that leg. We can flex the leg backwards, good bending from there. He does have that nice utility belt. His shoes are also a newly sculpted area, especially at like the tongue of the shoe. It has like more of a pointy feature to it, but the coloration matches the entire theme of Batman. And then on the underside where the air shoes or like the jets are, we have the yellow coloration right there. I would love to see like an alternate universe of these figures and seeing them as like villains, you know, like Shadow as the Joker. Like how cool would that be? But all in all, this is a solid figure. I love it so much. Now to activate the light up feature, it's just a button mechanism right here at the Bat logo. Push that in, you have a nice little yellow silhouettes on the outside of the bat symbol. So sick. And again, this figure is heavy. There is a lot of weight to this figure. The only area where there's some limitation is going to be here at the head. We don't have that movement kind of going forwards and backwards. I think just that addition of the cape right there kind of closes the gap to be able to move up and down, you know. We can still rotate the head all the way around. Oh, and I did want to point out here at like this lower torso area, he doesn't have a joint there either, but I would imagine the single card release would. But again, all of that is just to make up for having that light up feature right here. And let's see how that looks like in a more dimmed environment. All right, moment of truth. Oh, come on, look at that. Even like the orange coloration has like a Batman 89 Keaton vibe to it. Man, that looks so cool. And I am so glad that they did just the bat symbol and not like the eyes, you know, for this figure. I just think it looks way more appropriate. What a fun set. I mean, seeing Shadow as Batman, Sonic as the Flash, Silver as the Green Lantern is just so cool. And this is just like one of those specialty sets that won't be around very long, and it was executed very well. I mean, when a collaboration or a mashup makes sense and is done really well, like I'm all about that. And this is one of those figure sets. If this is something that you want, I would definitely jump on top of this because this won't be around for very long. I mean, I think this is to celebrate the 85th anniversary of Batman, which is like crazy, but these figures are a home run. The only gripe or the only thing that I would maybe change about this is to make them not quite as top heavy, so it doesn't put as much stress on the joints, or just kind of maybe reinforce the joints a little bit more, make them a little bit tighter and more snug. That way it can handle the extra weight of these heads and just this figure over time. But all in all, these are just stand-up figures. $15 each. You're getting a great amount of articulation per figure. I mean, Darkseid really surprised me. Just what they were able to do with this, hide the pins, all that extra articulation, and just the weight itself. I mean, if you were to throw this at somebody, this would do some damage, that's for sure. That's assault, so don't do that. And I think that's so cool that they went that extra mile to add the light up feature. I mean, it worked out tremendously with the Super Sonic and Super Shadow 2-pack from Sonic Movie 3. So I like that they're, you know, implementing that into areas where it works. And obviously for the Batman logo, it works out perfectly. Again, I'll put the links to all these in the tagged products or the description below, as well as any of the single carded figures that are available also. But that's all I got for you with this video. I hope you enjoyed this unboxing and review of the Power versus Speed set, a Target exclusive from Jakks Pacific Toys featuring Shadow the Hedgehog as Batman. If you enjoyed this unboxing and review, be sure to like and subscribe, and make sure you connect with me on Instagram and TikTok to stay up to date when new things drop, like the rest of our DC Sonic the Hedgehog collaboration. I also post toy photography and toy videos, things you won't see here on YouTube. Until then, collectors, I'll see y'all in the next video.